Everyone in the building swore the billionaire CEO, Adrian Locke, never looked anyone in the eyes, not even his board members. But that morning, when the elevator doors began to close, he bumped into a stranger, a single dad holding a crumpled lunchbox and a tired smile, and in that instant, in the middle of a crowded corporate tower, everything Adrian thought he knew about love, life, and himself shattered. No one could have imagined that a single accident, a single touch, a single moment, would change both their futures forever, and what came next would be powerful enough to break hearts, heal wounds, and prove that love arrives in the most unexpected places, even between two people whose worlds should never have collided. Monday mornings in the Locke International skyscraper were usually identical, footsteps echoing across polished floors, assistants clutching coffee like lifelines, and an unspoken tension floating in the air whenever employees knew Adrian Locke was arriving. He was the kind of CEO who walked like time obeyed him and success followed him like a shadow. His tailored navy suit never wrinkled, his silver wristwatch never ran late, and his sharp eyes never looked anywhere except straight ahead. The world admired him, feared him, and whispered stories about him: how he worked 18 hours a day, how he never dated, how he never smiled. They said the billionaire had it all, but somehow still had nothing. But on the opposite end of the city lived Ethan Hale, a single father who woke up every morning praying the world would give him just a little bit of kindness. His daughter, Lila, was 7, sunshine bright, and the center of his universe. He packed her lunch before the sun rose, braided her hair as carefully as he could, though it always looked slightly crooked, and kissed her forehead before sending her to school. He didn't have perfect suits or perfect mornings. He had spilled cereal, lost socks, and a heart that had learned to survive hardship without complaint. That morning, Ethan had woken late, rushed through traffic, and practically sprinted into the building where he worked as a junior graphic designer. His bag was half open, papers slipping out, and the tiny unicorn keychain Lila gave him bounced wildly with each hurried step. He just needed to catch the elevator before it closed so he wouldn't be late, because one more warning from HR would put his job, and his daughter's stability, at risk. Adrian, on the other hand, had just stepped into the elevator after finishing an early morning investor meeting. He was reviewing a presentation on his tablet, half listening to the ding of each floor as employees jumped in and out, careful, cautious, never brushing too close to him. Then it happened. The doors began to close. Ethan shouted, "Hold it, please." And without looking up, Adrian pressed the button to stop the doors, something he never did. Ethan squeezed inside, breathless, clutching his bag. But the second he lifted his head, he collided straight into Adrian's chest. His files fell, the unicorn keychain swung forward, and Ethan's cheeks flushed crimson. I'm so sorry," he blurted. I didn't mean to. No harm done," Adrian said softly, and for a moment, he forgot the tablet in his hand, forgot the meeting he was heading to, forgot the rigid walls he had built around his life, because Ethan's eyes, warm, gentle, tired but full of strength, held him still. The elevator suddenly felt too small, too quiet, too slow. Adrian found himself staring, his heart beating strangely off rhythm, as if time had paused just long enough to let something new enter his life. Ethan looked away quickly, embarrassed. "Thank you for holding the door," he whispered. "Most people don't bother." "I'm not, most people," Adrian replied before he could stop himself, and when Ethan smiled, shy, genuine, grateful, Adrian felt something he hadn't felt in years. A crack in the armor, the elevator dinged, the doors slid open, and for the first time ever, Adrian didn't want to walk out, but he did, and Ethan watched him disappear down the hallway, not knowing that a single accidental collision had already altered the course of both their lives, far more than either of them could imagine. The moment Adrian stepped into his office, a massive glass-walled room overlooking the entire city, he felt oddly distracted. Normally he dove straight into work, losing himself in numbers and negotiations that kept Locke International at the top of the global market. But today, his mind replayed Ethan's flustered apologies, the slight shake in his hands, the way his smile softened everything around him. Adrian didn't understand why such a simple moment unsettled him so deeply. His assistant, Kara, noticed immediately. "Sir, you seem off. Are you feeling all right?" Adrian blinked. "I'm fine. Just thinking." Which was true, except he wasn't thinking about the company, or the upcoming board meeting, or the 1,000 responsibilities waiting on his desk. He was thinking about a single father who rushed into an elevator with papers flying everywhere and a heart too soft for a world so harsh. Meanwhile, Ethan had practically collapsed into his tiny cubicle, heart still racing. He couldn't stop replaying the moment he bumped into the CEO of the company he worked for. His co-workers were whispering about something trending on the office group chat, but he had no idea they were talking about him. Someone had snapped a picture. A blurry shot of Ethan colliding with Adrian in the elevator, their faces inches apart. The text above it read: "A new employee? New romance?" CEO actually smiled? Ethan's face turned red. Oh no, he wasn't worried about jokes, he was worried that he'd angered the man who could fire him in a heartbeat. But then, several hours later, everything changed again. As Ethan walked to the cafeteria for lunch, holding his daughter's handmade lunchbox, he heard a voice behind him: "Ethan Hale." He froze. He knew that voice. He turned slowly. Adrian Locke stood there, tall, composed, intimidating, but with eyes softened by something Ethan couldn't name. "I wanted to apologize," Adrian said quietly. Ethan blinked. "You? Why would you apologize?" "I bumped into you. I stopped the elevator doors. I slowed everything down. I created the moment." Adrian held his gaze, unshaken. "So I'm sorry." Ethan wasn't sure whether to laugh or cry. "That's actually very kind." Adrian took a step closer, hands loosely in his pockets. "You dropped your file this morning. I believe this belongs to you." He extended the document, perfectly restacked, neatly arranged. Ethan's throat tightened. You fixed it?" "It wasn't hard," Adrian murmured. "And besides, I wanted to." Their eyes locked again, and this time neither of them looked away. The hallway around them faded into a blur of employees rushing by, but neither man moved. There was a heaviness in the air, a pull between them neither could explain but both could feel. Ethan finally whispered, "Thank you." "Truly." Adrian tilted his head slightly. "Do you always say thank you this much?" Ethan flushed. "Sorry. I'm just not used to people helping." "Maybe you deserve more help than you think," Adrian said, voice softening. Before Ethan could respond, the intercom called Adrian to an emergency meeting. Ethan stepped aside, but Adrian walked past him slowly, deliberately, as if leaving took effort. As he reached the end of the hall, he turned back once more. "Ethan?" "Yes?" Ethan breathed. "I hope," Adrian hesitated, something he had never done in his life, "that this won't be the last time we talk." Ethan's heart thumped. "Me too." And with that, Adrian walked away, but his chest felt lighter, breath warmer, and for the first time in years, he felt alive. What they didn't know was that this was only the beginning, a beginning powerful enough to challenge their fears, their pasts, and the world that tried to keep them apart, because love had already started weaving itself silently between them, long before either of them understood its depth.